First 80s of the year just around the corner, but as soon as we get to that warmth, we turn our attention back to the wet weather, making a return throughout much of California. Heading into the first weekend of spring, just a few light flurries in this year early on for our Saturday. We'll see considerable cloud cover for the valley. And then as we head into the afternoon, it becomes a bit more of a mixed bag with the mix of both rain and snow in there for our Saturday. By the time we get to our Sunday, we're back to the warmer weather pattern as well as drier outlook. Long range, though, again, the warmer weather pattern is going to stay in place, likely cooler setup through the Pacific Northwest, but then we turn right back into a likely wetter weather pattern. So although most of the weekend will be dry as well as early next week, we're going to be right back at it for the beginning of April. We're going to keep these extended forecasts going on ABC 10 Plus. Make sure you download it wherever you download for free on TV. We've got not only extended forecasts, but also weather explainers and our weather and climate specials. Check it out on ABC 10 Plus. Again, wherever you stream for free on TV. Statewide precipitation numbers as we're kind of starting to near the active part of our year with rain and snow. Numbers are looking decent in extreme Northern California, but Southern California remains critically dry in some locations. We'll take a look at some of the vegetation dryness as well. But Redding and Eureka, big winners in this water year so far, which started off October 1st of last year. It continues through September 30th of this year. So there's still some time. Our average rainfall, though, starts to drop off as we head into May and certainly through the dry summer season. Here's a look at the soil moisture. And what you'll notice here is that we are looking really good for the northern part of the state, but the southern part of the state still really dry. We're talking in the lowest percentile of averages, and that's going to lead us into some higher fire danger come the dry part of the year, particularly towards the end of summer and even into the early part of fall. But that could really accelerate this first start of the peak season, meaning it would be earlier and extended for a longer period of time. So this is something that we continue to watch, especially as we start to head into our drier time of the year. In terms of drought conditions, it's very likely that drought will persist for Southern California. Some erosion of that drought possible through the center part of the state, which is always good news. That's big agricultural land. And we're going to be able to have some water to kind of tide us over through the drier part of the year because the Sierra snow water equivalent is looking good. We're over 100% of average for the northern Sierra, central Sierra, about 90% of average, as is the southern Sierra. And obviously, we're going to get closer and closer to that April 1st number because we're nearly at the end of March. April 1st, the time that the state looks at the snow water equivalent throughout the state, 97% of average, and says, okay, how much about are we going to get out of that snowpack? And that's our snow water equivalent. If we were to melt the snow, how much water would we be able to draw out of it? It leads to snow melt and filling our reservoirs. Spring also is the time that we look at the potential for flooding, especially some of the waterways that just don't have the capacity to hold large volumes of snow melt coming down the hill. It took a little bit of time to catch up here. We had a robust start to the water year, and all of a sudden January hit and we flattened out. As you can see, the statewide precipitation really picking up here for our snowpack in the month of February and even March. As of last night, we saw a few flurries come through as well. So things are indeed looking much better than they were certainly in January. Look at the snowfall numbers since March 12th. March has been a really good month for us. We've had anywhere from 45 to almost 80 inches of snow for many of the ski resorts. That's just snowpack. Rainfall numbers also looking really good. We needed to catch up a lot after that dry January. So since March 12th, many of our capital region locations have been picking up a decent amount of rain, bringing us to about an inch to an inch and 3/4 just in about the past 10 days or so. As far as our active weather this week, it has been a crazy week. We started off Monday with three tornado warnings, I should say. Areas of hail, as you can see here. In Waterford, it was mostly pea-sized, but we were getting reports of some quarter-size hail. In Citrus Heights, it was piling up like little snowpacks there. And we had some storm damage east of Denair. This was very close to where we had a couple of those tornado warnings coming out. Straight line winds determined by the National Weather Service knocking down, unfortunately, this row of trees right here. And Daryl saying it was about what he thinks about 50 plus trees that had some damage because of those straight line winds. So lots of active weather, not to mention the funnel cloud. This was near Balico. You can see the rotation here as we zoom in, just that counterclockwise circulation never really made it to the ground. So again, just a funnel cloud reported there. And then we've had cloud cover all throughout the week. So a great looking sundog or perihelion. That's when there is a bright spot on one or both sides of the sun. It can be white or colored. As you can see, this particular one had that beautiful little rainbow glow to it. So thanks to Kurt Wolf for submitting that. I'll look at our rundown of precipitation. We've had the clouds, we've had the active weather. March just was the month that kept on giving. So we're still a little bit below average, 1.58 inches for downtown Sacramento. There's that average at 2.82. March is one of the wettest months of the year. Not necessarily the top three, but it's still a major player, and it has provided some decent rainfall. It's just we had so much catching up to do from that dry January, which historically is our wettest month. It's just been a little too little too late at this point in the season. As you can see, as we head towards April, May, and June, everything just flattens out here. That being said, we have had a couple of great years back to back. So our reservoirs, when we really look at how the water situation is shaping up in California, we are above average and things are filling up nicely. We haven't even gotten to the peak snowmelt season yet. So our biggest reservoir, Shasta, over 100% of average. New Melones, Don Pedro, big reservoirs for the Central Valley, over 100% of average and about 80% full right now. San Luis, that off-stream pumped water storage that feeds right into the California aqueduct, about 88% full. 104% of average. Millerton a little bit lower, but that has been actually filling up pretty nicely. It started off really dry for the beginning of the water year. Speaking of the water year, if you're not familiar with it, for California, this is kind of our lifeline to how we're able to survive without months of rain or snow coming in. Fall rain starts in October, and it can really starts to pick up December, January, and February. That's 50% of our annual precipitation. That's why I was saying we're kind of in the rear view mirror of our wettest time of year. Peak snowpack hits at the end of March. That begins our peak snow melt when we start to fill those reservoirs, when we'll really see them come up to capacity. And that's also when our water is at its highest demand. So a nice network of keeping that water, and then the conveyance system delivers all that water into Southern California through the end of the dry season. Again, that's also the time that we have to look at fire danger as well. Snow surveys so far this year, you can see it's kind of fluctuated here. Here's that dry January that we really got hit hard with, but we picked up in February. We haven't had that fourth snow survey of the year. It's very likely going to be looking at about 95, 97% of average. The California Department of Water Resources will conduct that. Now, the reason we really don't have many snow surveys after that is because the average precipitation just drops off dramatically. I showed you that earlier bar graph here, and you can see in July, we average no rain. In August, basically no rain. September, we pick up a little bit, but all in all, it's going to be feast or famine here by the time we get to our summer season. Our average highs, conversely, on the way up. So we peaked that heat in July. Fire danger actually really starts to become more amplified by August and September. It's just because we've had so many months without a good wetting rain. Plus, we've added heat, evaporation. So the soil moisture really goes down. Vegetation dryness comes up, and it just adds to the possibility of getting those big wildfires going because of the amount of fuel. Speaking of heat, we've got some spring heat coming our way Monday and Tuesday of next week, 80 to 82 degrees. And that's going to be the warmest that we've seen since October 27th of last year, when the city reached 80 degrees. Our average first day of 80, March 28th. So we're pretty much right on the money there. Our first 90, May 2nd, 95, May 21st. And then we start talking about the triple digits by June. By July, we have our average first 105-degree day. We get that peak heat Monday into Tuesday, and then we turn the page on the middle of the week, and it is right back to some cooler weather heading our way. Again, we'll have that quick hitting shower coming our way for the Sierra for our Saturday under this ridge of high pressure, sinking, warming air. We get that peak heat Monday and Tuesday. But watch, this next weather player comes in line by the time we get to the middle of the week. This will bring in our chance for showers as well as that cooler air mass trying to stretch its way in through Northern California. It's going to reach the northwest coast. It's a little too early to tell how deep that cooler air will make it into Central California. That being said, a likely wetter weather pattern shaping up for the beginning of April. We'll get that quick hit of a chance of showers late Wednesday through early Thursday. But look at the future moisture coming in then by the end of next week into the following weekend. That'll be our last weekend of March, and looks like we'll have some showers on tap the way that things are playing out right now. Nice that it's kind of hitting the central coast as well. As you saw, those precipitation numbers are pretty bleak. Our forecast for our Saturday, kicking off the weekend, highs in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, down low as we head towards the coast. Highs in the 60s to almost 70. We're kind of right on the bubble there of seeing some of that heat building in the forecast. But we have the cloud cover, and that's really going to minimize some of the access to that daytime heating. A quick moving shower headed our way for this year. A very little in the way of accumulation. Then it's all about the warmer weather Monday and Tuesday. By Wednesday, when we draw in that next chance for showers, we're still under that warmer air mass, and it will very likely be in the form of rain at base level for the mountains. For the foothills, it's rain on our Wednesday, and for the coast, we'll have some showers as well. That kind of opens the door for some of the cooler weather to head our way. That after seeing some of that warmth Monday and Tuesday, highs in the lower 80s, and then we're right back at it with the cooler weather by the time we get to the middle and end of the next work week, plus the last weekend of March.